I said I was going to make a video about perfectionism, and that I was going to record it today, New Year's Day. And I spent the entire day procrastinating about making this video because I was worried that it would not be sufficiently perfect. Case in point. It's funny because I'm a professor, and part of what I teach is this idea that perfectionism is counterproductive. I'll say that it's like even toxic, in that if you are always concerned with making something of the utmost quality, it may be paralyzing to the point of producing nothing. Sidebar. You should want to make things of the utmost quality. I do. That should be the goal, that we realize perfection is unattainable, but we shoot for it and we hope to come as close to it as possible. And even if we fall well shy of the mark, we can refine the work that we do produce and make it better iteratively. Perfectionism is counterproductive. And I know this from experience because that is exactly the position in which I find myself often, particularly when I want to share things publicly. It's one thing to create in private, and that's never been a problem for me. And I find myself sort of longing for the time before social media, only in that I felt like that was one of the richest creative moments of my life, where I was creating solely to create, impulsively, and I didn't really plan to share them with anybody. I just felt like they had to get out. These things were typically songs. I had an acoustic guitar and a Tascam 4-track mini disc recorder, and I was able to make my own little 4-track studio, which was pretty cool at the time for me, a fairly novice musician, self-taught in my early 20s. And only after a little while did I start exhibiting songs. I would go play at a place in Brooklyn called Pete's Candy Store, and they would have 2-song sets for people to do acoustic numbers, and I made that a fairly regular thing. It was every week on a Wednesday. But then I got away from that and I didn't play music again for a long time. I finally put a band together in 2012, and I wound up playing the drums in that band because guitars are a dime a dozen, and I was never, a world-beating guitarist. So, being a drummer is great. I love it. It's the thing that I actually prefer to do musically, at least in a group. But that band lived for about 2 years, and then we broke up, and that was kind of the end of my musical career, so to speak. I mean, it's hard to call it a career when all I ever made was drink tickets and enough money to hail a cab, which is certainly better than nothing, but it was, let's call it a lean enterprise financially. But really loved it, enjoyed it. I wrote all the songs in my band, and I posted some of that stuff on my YouTube channel. And there's still so many songs that I've written, and some that I've even recorded, that have never seen the light of day. And I have this reluctance to show them, simply because I look around at just the wealth of talent that there is in the world. And there are people creating all kinds of content, particularly on YouTube, that's really just out of this world. It's great. And I never exactly had a recording acumen. Like, I'm not a great mixer. I have ideas that, with people that are steeped sort of in recording technology, they can be turned into polished songs that sound, that turn out to be pretty good songs. And, left to my own devices, however, I've just never been able to surmount that home recording hurdle where I can make my own demos sound polished. And then I listen to stuff that people post, and like the video production is just amazing, and the photography, the cinematography, the sound design, the mixing, and it's just like, wow, like it's just, people are so impressive, and I enjoy what they make, and I'm appreciative of it, and it's like enriched my life to consume, content from either people who are teachers, or people who are makers, or people who are singers and musicians of other sorts, whether they play an instrument or their instrument is their voice. It's awesome to behold the richness that these people are capable of contributing, and that they do contribute, and that they can contribute because of social media. So for me to be an old man and to whine about like, oh, I wish I could go back to the days where I didn't have this amazing platform to share things with people, because my own perfectionism is getting in the way of me making content that I could share. That's really what it is. Because when I was unself-conscious, I produced and I produced and I produced. And now that I'm incredibly self-conscious, it's so hard to make anything. And that's not to say that producing and producing and producing unself-consciously makes great content, because I'm not going to lie and say that everything I ever made was amazing. And I think that that's generally true, that the gems that are produced are the result of a lot of experimentation and perhaps sometimes failure. And another thing that I try to impart to my students is that failure is essential to learning, that failure is in fact something to embrace. And I believe it, and I mean it, and when I tell them that, and I mean to impart it to them in the hope that they don't get to the point of paralysis that I experience. But I need to take my own advice. I'm very much in a physician, heal thyself kind of mode. And, to harken back to that Teddy Roosevelt quote that I open with, comparison really is the thief of joy. Because I am a very lo-fi, homemade sort of creator. I would like the opportunity to polish things, but clearly I have not dived into learning how to make my own recordings sound better. To me it seems almost arcane. It's like magic. I have a friend, in fact, who now lives up in Massachusetts, in rural Massachusetts, and he was always able to make such amazing recordings. And he told me that the way that he would do it is that he would record digitally, and then he would run that digital recording through a reel-to-reel tape machine, and then through like a number of other devices, just to sort of analog them up and like create that warm magnetic tape sound, that idea of like that old media, that imperfect media, and how that makes recording somehow seem richer than the sterile digital realm. That's one of the things that I think is missing for me, is that I'm using a DAW and I can't create that warmth that I hear in a room, or that I hear in my head, or that I imagine there is in the song that I'm performing, or that I've written, like the inherent qualities of the song. I don't know how to make things not sound necessarily flat or dead or lifeless, or not as rich as they could. And that again brings me to the videos and that I see on YouTube of singers and musicians just making things that sound produced. They sound legit, and they are. They really are, whether they were done by a professional, so to speak. I'm not saying these people have Rick Rubin in their back pocket or anything, but they are clearly capable of making high quality stuff, and they do it in their bedroom, or they do it in their living room. And I keep letting my inability to do that get in my way of at least just putting stuff out there and allowing maybe those things to be my failures, and being okay with those things not being perfect and not being as polished as they could be. Because maybe if I do put something out and someone hears it, even if it is rough, even if it is flat, even if it is not as sonically rich as it could be in the hands of a more capable mixer or producer, maybe someone would hear that and it would resonate with them, maybe lyrically, or maybe even just the lo-fi homemadeness of it would resonate with them, and they were somebody that would, want to talk to me about it. Maybe they would be somebody who wanted to collaborate with me about it. It's all speculative, clearly, for me to say this, but I'm clearly not going to have those opportunities if I don't present things to either be lambasted, which is a possibility, or to be appreciated, which, maybe I'm not as sure that what I share would be appreciated. But if I don't allow someone the opportunity to appreciate it, it surely won't be. So that sort of sums it up. That's my pep talk to myself. And, if anyone made it through to this point of this long ramble and that had any resonance for you too, I'm glad, and I hope that you're able to overcome whatever creative hurdle you might have so that you can share what you want to with the rest of us. So here's to a productive 2021 and putting perfectionism in the drawer and just making and seeing what happens. Happy New Year.